Hello, beautiful ones. Welcome to a new episode of In the Flow of Magic. The magic is always there. It's a matter of aligning with it. And I'm taking you with me as I make some tea. So you'll hear some sounds. I'm making a summer version of a chai. It's a little bit lighter. I've got my fennel, my coriander, and I've got some true cinnamon, not the one that causes allergens. And so I thought I would actually just share with you while making my tea. Percival is happy and fed, though he's still stalking me potentially that there might be more food coming, but there's not. So how are you today? And I've just the cinnamon, and then basically I'm just going to put a little bit of ginger. Okay, the ginger is there. So we've got ginger, cinnamon, coriander, fennel, and a little bit of black pepper. Just a little pinch to basically what we call like potentiate it, bring a little bit of activation. So I'm going to share a little bit of behind the scenes today on what is going on for me, Coach Viv, and it totally will relate to you, I hope, my listener, my longtime listener, my new listener. And so if you are new to me, I take the skills I've learned over decades being a yoga teacher, meditation practitioner, and adept for decades, studying with monks. I actually said that to someone on a call, and she's like, I would love to study with monks. I said, I've studied with monks, so you don't have to. And she said, I'd love to study with monks. So, yeah, today I just want to share a little bit, as I said, behind the scenes. I am open for one-on-one clients, for private clients. This is relatively new. I've been focused before a lot on my courses and programs, the chakra course, the sexual energy alchemy, which is the program where I train women in working with their energy, using a particular holistic model, doing self-massage and acupressure. But I am opening now my energy to work one-on-one, and especially what really motivated it was, it took a little bit of time, but the news about professors, specifically African-American women who were having such a hard time in academia, which for those of you who know my backstory, I left academia years ago, pushed out by bullying, which seemed racially and gender motivated. I think it was both. I literally left that career, walked away from it, diagnosed with PTSD by a therapist, and anxiety and depression. Now, I'd always been a sensitive person, but, grew up in New York, was doing good, and got into academia, and then that's where, with the toxic job, it just really push things to where I said, you know what, I cannot take this. My mental and emotional health is more important. I did walk away. Now, I've been getting the thought, I know some of you, whatever your ethnicity, because I coach all women. I like to focus on women because I think we have much more in common. I think that's my zone of genius. I think just speaking with women and speaking and listening together is a very specific, very wholesome type of relationship that we can have where we can help each other. So I have been on the phone with, what I do is I do a call. Someone has maybe seen me on Facebook, and they book through for a call. They filled out a questionnaire, which I have, so I have some sense of what they're dealing with in terms of their stress. Is it affecting their health? Because I only want to work with women that are serious. And when you kind of put out a wide net, I've been finding via Facebook, you can get a lot of people who, and what is this about? It's like women who, they're like looky-loos. Someone else was calling them looky-loos. It's like, oh, I'm interested in stress and I'm interested in toxic stress. But it's almost this sense, oh, the tea's coming along, this sense of, I'm not going to take a step though. There's this hesitation. Now, I don't know, if it's because they may not know me, as I'm running ads on Facebook, and it leads to a video that talks a little bit about toxic stress. And maybe I'm new to these women, but I'm going to share with you what I'm finding on the phone is a lot of women are, while they're definitely suffering, and I don't think that's too strong a word, they're interacting with the materials, but when it comes to taking that step, Goddess, the step of, you know what, I am ready for help. I'm going to be really honest with you. I think that is how we run into trouble, because that's how I ran into trouble. As I am just sharing this with you, I'm realizing that it was not seeing early enough that I needed help. When I was in academia, as I said, my sleep started to get messed up. And for many women, I'm going to go there, this can coincide with perimenopause, right? You might be close to the apex of your career, and then that overlaps with perimenopause or menopause, but often perimenopause, right? A little earlier, you may not know what's happening. So I was starting to have emotional ups and downs, but it was definitely triggered by the level of stress, the level of the sense I got that, you're not really wanted here. You're not one of us. It was subtle. It was not constant. They weren't, outwardly vicious men, but there really was this culture. For the men listening, just be aware. How are you treating your female colleagues, especially in academia, because academia is a job for life, right? And that tenure process. So the pressure of the tenure process where you're being judged and rated and you have really no power, you're being judged and rated. And again, that could be your corporate job. That could be coming up for a promotion in your civil service. There's just a lot of factors coming together. And then being a woman, which is whom I'm speaking to, and then if you are a woman of color, now we're adding in the feeling that you were some sort of diversity hire. I want to speak on that a little bit, and it'll be obvious to to you if you're listening to me. But obviously, even if someone was a diversity hire, as part of breaking down the fact that there are very few of that person, there's very little diversity in the company, in the organization, you would want to bring in quality people. Many, many very simple-minded folks think, if the person was a DEI hire, they're automatically incompetent. Now, what that should make you think is, why is the company incompetent? Why would you hire somebody incompetent? They literally do not have to go together. If someone is incompetent, can't do their job of any race, the people that hired them are the ones to blame. So this equation that if someone is brown or black or a woman, that they're automatically not good at their job is completely and absolutely racist. I know I was brought in for, quote, diversity. I was, in my past, before getting there, I worked at the Museum of Modern Art. Some of these people had never really left the town. Some of my coworkers, the ones who were judging me. So I was eminently qualified for my job. Of course, I had strengths and weaknesses, just as I saw many of my male colleagues had their strengths and weaknesses. Maybe I'll break this out more in a different video, but basically what I'm as I said, I'm preaching to the choir. You know that you may be feeling that pressure, like, oh, you're not good at your job. But often what happens is you're kind of set up. You may not be given the same amount of support, the same amount of clarity. In my job, as the pressure mounted, to get back to the stress and all of that, which is what this is about, I was given very little support, completely opaque instructions. When I would ask for clarification, it wasn't given, but I was constantly belittled, but there was no clarification or basically no management or, what's the word? Not even coaching, just they didn't do their role, right? And again, it was just belittling, just judgmental speech, and then it became being left out of meetings, and it just got worse and worse. And also it was a pattern in my case, and let me know in comments if this has happened to you. I was not the first one this happened to. So rarely are you unique in the situation. It's happened before, okay? It has happened before. These people in toxic jobs, it is a pattern they've run before. It's like a game plan that they've rehearsed unknowingly, but it's how they operate, okay? And so I won't even get into like gaslighting. That's a word that's floating around now. So what I'm saying is, if you're a woman and this is happening to you, or a man who you think that you could work well with a female coach, reach out to me. But what I'm seeing with the women I get on the phone with, sadly, is a lot of them express that they're going through this, even just by their actions. Maybe they don't even get up to the phone call with me, which is free, by the way. But they're not psychologically ready to free themselves. I hate to say that, but because it sounds like blaming the victim. But as a woman who's been through it, I know that that's something that women do. There's a martyr complex. All right, I'm going to call it out. It's like a martyr complex. Because basically, sometimes with these jobs, yes, things are structural, but it's almost like bullies. And we all know bullies are very smart about how they pick their victim. Right? And so I really do believe that there is a strange combination of absolutely structural racism, sexism. Yes, it's a pattern, it's a behavior, it's a system. But then how do we react to it, and are we drawn into it? For example, I was raised by an abusive male. So it's interesting. And again, we could say, yes, this is structural. Not blaming all men, but there is definitely issues about power and how women are treated. I mean, historically, right? But yeah, my father was abusive. Now I know he was abused, so I do have some compassion for him now. But it was a level of abuse. It never reached the physical, except one time for me, where I literally thought I would lose my life. Maybe that's a story for another time, where I was physically dragged back into the house against my will. And I literally thought I was going to be killed. So that is a horrifying memory, right? That's not a father. That's not a loving father. And then ended up working with men who were, while not physically abusive, because probably by law they couldn't get away with that, but emotionally abusive, belittling, judging, harassing. So anyway, we have to have the strength to say, you know what, this is not a good situation. And then what am I going to do? What am I going to do about it? So I am here for you as a coach, as a teacher. I kind of don't like the word coach. Like I always say, I think of a chubby guy in a baseball uniform, because when I was growing up, that's a coach, and he was spitting, right? And then he'd talk to the players. So I am a teacher, and what I am offering is a special blend of teaching mindfulness meditation, how to do it exactly, where it gives you a great degree of not just control isn't the right word, but an understanding of how to work with your own inner world, your mind, your emotions. I call it self-therapy, honestly. That's the effect of it. It's like you're therapying yourself and you're your best therapist, which is pretty deep, okay? But I'm mixing it with the acupuncture model, which is related to tapping. The guy who took tapping, that's coming out of acupressure and acupuncture, where I teach clients specific points to do for stress. But then if your blood pressure is high, if you're having headaches, whatever your imbalance is, I give you a series of points that you can work on literally in about 10 minutes that are going to balance your energy system as well. So it's a combination of those two modalities, beautifully blended. And again, working with you privately so we can really dive in to what's happening for you. And again, don't be that woman who knows that things are not working, who's under tremendous stress. Your period, your cycle is getting messed up because, again, it might be coinciding with perimenopause, or it could just be the stress and no perimenopause, which is also completely possible. Don't be one of those women who's going to tough it out. Now, in the Black community, we have there's a trope of the strong Black woman. You probably heard of it, so whatever your background, unless you're really not from the U.S. And what it is, it's this idea that I don't ask for help. Help is not forthcoming. I'm just going to do it myself. I'm going to just be strong, and I'm going to shoulder the burden. I think all women have that to some degree, and I think it does depend on culture. But don't be one of those women, because those women end up, like some, especially of the African-American women we saw, Candia Bailey, deeply depressed, some suicidal. I mean, I reached a point where I was suicidal, but I just kept going because I'm like, this is the best job. This is the job I wanted. This is the dream job. I can't give up. So if you need support, reach out to me, reach out to us. I'm going to give an email. I don't want spam, so I'm going to give one that is assistant as in helper, assistant, right, at intheflowofmagic.com. And what we would do is get you a clarity and calm call, or you can go right to Mindful Meridian Method. That's mindful, MINDFUL, Meridian, which is energy meridian, MERIDIAN. I know I should know how to spell that. Method, mindfulmeridianmethod.com. And you'll see a short video. It's like a 10-minute video, gives you kind of an introduction, talks about stress, and then gets you into my calendar. So again, don't be one of those women who doesn't take care of herself, because there are lasting impacts to lack of self-care. There are lasting impacts to lack of self-care. Therapy is great. I definitely was in therapy. I wouldn't have made it without therapy, but the support and the training I give doubles the quality and the benefits of therapy. All right? Don't be one of those women who's just going to carry the weight without support, without help, because you deserve support. You deserve to be out of this situation. And what I work with clients with, it's not that you're necessarily going to leave the job, but you're going to definitely get clarity after the 11 weeks of working with me. It's 8 sessions in the current format, 8 sessions over 11 weeks. That gives you enough time to really get settled and grounded and clarity of mind and to feel much less stressed. And then you can decide what is the appropriate thing to do as we're going through this process together. And I also make a promise. My promise to you is that even from the very first session of working with me, the very first session, you're going to feel your level of calm, relaxation, and ease is going to be double what it was when you entered the call. There's just no way that it can't be. Okay? So if you're under a tremendous amount of stress and you're looking for a holistic way to cope with it, then reach out to me. Again, the shortest way is assistant@intheflowofmagic.com. And anyway, I hope this served you just to get you thinking about tolerance for pain, because that's kind of what it is. How much pain and discomfort will we tolerate? All right. Much love. Peace and blessings. Bye-bye.